Hi everyone, it's Christy Funk from christyfunk.com, and I'm fighting a little cold, some chest congestion, and didn't feel like getting too glamorous. I actually wanted to be really raw and open and real today, and I always love it when my voice gets like this. It's interesting though how the body just really reflects and is an extension of our emotions, and all of this is right here in the chest and the throat chakra. I wanted to talk about divorce, and I think I'm going to do a series called Compassionate Divorce, which is really kind of the two don't really go together. Especially for those of you that have gone or are going through a divorce, it seems to be almost like a battlefield unless you're going through a really amicable and it's an agreed, you both have agreed and you're still friends. Um, I remember the first time when I contacted an attorney, and it just made me nauseous and sick because it was like this almost like they were just preparing you for war and for the worst scenario, and I just hated it. Um, and I won't give the details of my divorce because that is something very personal and private, and I want to protect both myself and my ex and my children. Um, and last week, as I was in the court hearing for our divorce process, I just was erupted with a bunch of emotions that just like nobody prepares you for birth, nobody prepares you for the death of a loved one, and nobody prepares you for the emotions that come out during a divorce. And it was really, I just allowed them to surface. I, first of all, energetically hate the courts, hate those rooms. Just that whole system to me is really heavy and toxic, and being in there bombarded with that, I had to protect myself and just really try to keep a sense of calm because I'm very affected by, I hate confrontation, and I was in a place where everybody's so confrontational, the attorneys it's just, it's set up for that kind of pot of just erupting emotions and not balanced. So as I was sitting there, I felt this tremendous sense of sadness, not so much for the actual relationship because that had ended before we even separated. I mean, we were drifting apart, and had I known now, if had I known then what I know now, had I done the work that I've done now, who knows what would have happened. But we just were not, our souls were not aligned, um, and I felt a sense of sadness for the dream. I think that's very common when we talk to people about divorce. It's that dream and that vision that we had for the family and for the unit and for the vacations as a family and the camping trips and the snuggle time and the barbecues and the experiences of the birthdays and the celebration. And it's really about losing that unit of love, and it's really that's the really just the core of it, that I think when it's a grieving process, and it was just hard to swallow that that's really the end of that vision, even though the relationships was long gone. And you have a sense of deep sadness for your children, um, that somehow we've chipped them of that promise and that commitment that we made. And it just, I had to sit with it, and I had to acknowledge it and let it come. I wasn't resisting. So when I went home from the court, I was wiped out. I quickly just ate something and laid down, took a long bath, and was really in a hurry to get to bed, to put the kids to bed. And I woke up just in tears several times because it is a grieving process. And even though we've been separated for 3.5 years and I've done plenty of grieving, I still had to allow these emotions to come up because it's somebody that you were connected with at one point in your life, and the dreams and the visions like I talk about. Um, and so I had to sit there and I allowed it for a day to just really process and understand this is still a journey that we're going to be taking with the kids, and how to stand strong in the things that I think are required for the children and for myself, but allow it to be done compassionately, whether or not it is with the couple. How compassionate can I be with myself in this process? How can I allow the tears to flow when they come, or the frustration and the anger and just the grieving, and to allow it to go through my body and release so that it's not being stored in here. And that's so interesting how I got sick um, right after, and it's in here. So I'm expressing, and that's what I invite you to do, is to express it, and that you will never see me badmouth their father on social media. It has no place there, and I really encourage, for those of you that are going through a separation or divorce, to keep that private. The energy just fuels more angry people, and I remember going on some Facebook pages where it was like divorced women or whatever, and I had to get off because all they were doing was bitching and complaining about their lives and their partners. And although we have safe places to do that with, like our girlfriends or our family, where we can just really say that son of a bitch and just be like, just get so frustrated and angry, and let it out, but in a safe container. But when you're doing it in public, it just really brings that energy into that space, so that you are not able to heal and move on from that and enjoy the fruits of that, the gifts of whatever the lesson was in that union and the demise of that marriage. So I really just wanted to kind of invite you in this space to look at this with a calm heart. It is a quivering heart, and it is a shaky soul, but to find the peace and the beauty in this process, as hard as it is, it will make it easier. And yes, there's going to be battles, even if you don't want it, or if you do, just do it gracefully, and avoid the volatile nature of this, that word divorce, and the cutting of the cord. So it's just the beginning of this process, and I know that in my marriage, my lesson was that I had to love myself and know that I was enough, that I had to take myself out of the victim mode, and that is where radical self-love came from. The lesson in the divorce process for me, and the journey that will come, because he's not going anywhere. He is my children's father, and I want him to be my children's father and to be there for him. But my lesson in this leg of the journey is forgiveness, a deep, deep forgiveness, not just of him or the divorce, but forgiving myself for any guilt or shame, or anything where I felt I wasn't less, where I was less than. I know my part in the marriage, and I want to explore that with you another time, but forgiveness is a big one. And so we will talk about that, and I really send you a lot of blessings on this path. I know it's hard, but it is also quite a beautiful thing if you can understand the value of it. And I don't promote or support the idea of divorce is just a way of moving on to the next thing. I do really find it to be a sacred thing, but sometimes things don't work, and how do we do it from a place of love and compassion, even though in that moment and in that process you don't feel like that is even possible, and I'm telling you that it is. It starts with you. So blessings, and I will talk to you soon.